The NAR, if you don't know, I'm sure you know, it's literally been on almost every single website, or every talking head has talked about how real estate is in this huge shakeup and how real estate agents have been essentially, this is honestly the vibe I get, is that real estate agents have been screwing people over for decades, and the Pied Piper is calling. Would you say that's pretty much what you hear?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
I was thinking about having like a stream of like individual talking heads telling all these incorrect facts about what this means for the industry.
Yeah.
But we want to set the record as far as we understand it as real estate agents, what has actually changed, what is the lawsuit actually done, and then how is that going to impact, truthfully, the only person that matters, which is the consumer, right? The end user, the buyers and the sellers in the market. How is this lawsuit going to impact them? I'm looking at the article you sent us. It's from the Real Deal Real Estate News. I don't know if they're the real deal, but they do quite a bit of real estate related news articles.
Yeah,
this is their winners.
It's a fairly prominent, like, real estate reporting.
Yeah, but this is like an example of it. The winners. First one, NAR. I mean, I can't imagine, even for whatever even they say, I can't imagine that NAR just got settled on a $418 million settlement and the NAR is the one winning. Doesn't sound like it. Home sellers and buyers. Also, nothing about this settlement is to me a win. Just my own unvarnished opinion on this. Obviously, it's biased. I don't think home sellers and buyers are winners out of this deal. The sellers that sued the NAR, they're going to win on this one.
It depends on the state you're in too, as far as the home buyers and sellers go. Some states they might be a winner, and some states it might be a complete disaster, depending on how they operated beforehand.
That's going to say depending on your gravestone. Depending on your
gravestone.
Depending. It's depending. There's so many factors that are involved in this.
It depends.
It depends. Compass, Redfin, and Zillow. First of all, I don't think Zillow's a winner out of this, or Redfin. Technology companies, there might be some argument that this is going to help technology companies, but the only reason these technology companies exist is because real estate agents allow them to exist, truthfully.
Yep.
Because if I take a listing, I put it on that website, that's how they get viewership.
I'm allowing it to be on the website.
I'm allowing it to be on the website. It's helpful, but if a buyer wants a house in Washington County, they could just come to my website. They don't have to go to Redfin and Zillow. Do they have the captive eyeballs? They do, unless they didn't, because then in which case it would just go somewhere else, right? It's not like they create anything. Redfin and Zillow create nothing. If anything, Redfin and Zillow are actually probably the ones who drive up prices more than anybody else, because real estate agents have to pay these companies for the leads. So they only benefit from the movement of real estate, and they get paid for by the real estate agents that put their listings on there. So if you're a real estate agent listening to this, that's the biggest, we're losing because Zillow and Redfin are just taking advantage of the relationships and the things that we built on that side. There's no competitive advantage that Redfin or Zillow. So the fact that they've listed Redfin and Zillow as a winner out of this thing, I also
makes no sense.
Have no idea.
That's funny though.
Understand.
Scroll back up a little bit. Real estate influencers ready to explain this new big world.
Oh my
Hilarious.
Gosh. Yeah,
Hilarious.
I'm a winner because I have to explain this thing to 7 million people that are confused.
And I'm gonna get clicks and likes and be able to do this.
I don't think I'm going to win at all. But that is pretty funny that they put in there Ricky Carruth. Tom Ferry and Ricky Carruth are among the few that they've had town hall style discussions of what it means for brokers, not what it means for the consumer, but they're doing it for the brokers. I've seen more ads about how like real estate agents, let me show you how to adjust in this shifting landscape, because it isn't going to impact the consumer the way the consumer thinks it is.
Yep.
So correct me if I'm wrong. The original case, the Brian Stitzer, right? The Stitzer Burnett. I'm sorry.
Stitzer
Burnett. Is that a
shout out to Brian Burnett?
Brian Burnett, Brian Seltzer's orchestra. I'm messing all kinds of stuff up.
Yeah.
So it's the Stitzer Burnett.
Underrated band, by the way.
Yeah, I love them. Yeah. I'm a big fan. The Stitzer Burnett case is a Missouri case where the sellers of homes sued the brokerages of the buyer agents that brought buyers to them. These are the two parties. The plaintiff is the seller of the home, represented by a bunch of corporate attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
The defendants are the brokerages who, the brokers who are in agreement with the agents that brought buyers to buy these people's homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the seller is suing the buyer agent.
Because why?
Because they think their argument is that they paid more in commission than they should have, or that they were forced to pay that commission.
Because in Missouri, it was not disclosed up front.
Correct.
That's where the commission was going.
Correct. But what was disclosed?
The total commission.
The total commission. Mm-hmm. So I'm a listing agent. I come in, say, Rob, I need you to sell my house. Great. These are the things I'm going to do. Okay. How much are you going to charge me? It's a 6% commission. Okay, great. Sell my house. Maybe it's a 5%. In Missouri, it was basically 6% across the board. Mm-hmm. So they don't have a case here. But we sat down with the seller. They said, this is the price of your house. This is as much as I'm going to take as a commission. Rob, just get it done. For the 6%, you better get it done. Mm-hmm. So they take that 6% and they say, hey, buyer agents, I'm going to pay you 3% to help me. So the seller already has an agreement with the listing agent for 6%, which is clear. It's clear in the contract. They sign it. Yeah. It's 6%.
Yeah. The sellers agreed to it.
Rob takes the 6% as the listing agent and says, hey, buyer agents, I'm going to pay you 3% if you help me sell this thing. And we do it together. I'll take 3%, you take 3%. In some cases,
bring me a ready, willing, and able buyer.
Yeah, so people you already know that's good, that's pre-qualified, so they're not wasting their time. We're not gonna go run around the track with some low baller or investor that's gonna string us out that understands the process. That's gonna do a good job. In 30 days, we're gonna be able to get this closed. I do that. I issue, instead of taking a full 6, I give 3 to somebody else. Then now the seller's like, I sold my house, but I'm not happy about it. Because I looked at the settlement statement, there's all this money going out, and I don't like the fact that that buyer agent made so much money.
I'm not paying the buyer's agent, I'm paying the listing agent.
Exactly.
I never agreed to pay the buyer's agent.
Exactly. So there's confusion. No, you're not going to find an argument with me on this. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to argue the fact that they should have been clear where that money was going and what they were paying it for. Mm-hmm. However, they were clear as to they were willing to pay X amount of dollars, and however that agent got the job done seems to me like it's up to that agent, right? Antitrust is another element to this that I think is important. What they're saying is that there's that
the seller was essentially being forced into selling it for 6%, that there was no negotiating on the front end.
Exactly. Which, in my mind, that's looking at all the years that I've had in dealing with real estate agents. So I'm on 8 years, 3 years of which ran a brokerage of just real estate agents, 160 agents in our brokerage. Mm-hmm. They're cats. Like, getting them to collectively do anything is damn near impossible, right? You're always going to have that one person or that group of them that do not want to do what you're asking them to do, or have zero interest in towing the line. That is definitely not a real estate agent trait from my experience. Now in Missouri, maybe it was a very collaborative effort. Yeah. But looking at the case, I don't think they did a very good job showing that there was some, collective antitrust that was forcing these consumers to do it. Mm-hmm. It's an industry standard that's been around for a long time. Should it change? You're going to hear from me. I do think it should change. I think it's important that it changes. However, is it going to change because of this settlement? Not a chance. Not a chance. That's not what this settlement did. Mm-hmm. So they win the case, billions of dollars. I think it was over $1 billion, right?
Yeah, there's only two things that
So the Stitzer Burnett case, they win that case in Missouri, which then sets off a chain of events across the country.
Yeah. So that leads us to where we're at now with the settlement.
Yeah. So that really kind of started this whole thing out. So then now NAR was sued essentially along the same lines, and they're settling. They're going to raise up their hand. So here's the fact sheet. Okay. Here's the fact sheet on what it is. Basically, it's all brokerages with an NAR member as principal that had a residential transaction volume in 2022 of $2 billion or below, the settlement is subject to court approval. Okay, so if it's over $2 billion, this applies to them. Okay, so what does that mean? So over $1 million real estate agents are released from liability nationwide. Okay, so they're assuming liability for all these NAR members across the country. Okay, over $1 million of them. the specifics as to all those little details of how they're settling and who's going to get charged for what. That for the consumer, if you're listening to this and you're a real estate agent, you're going to have to go read the fact sheet yourself.
Yeah. So one of the keys with that is that brokerages that decide to not enter into the settlement they're opening themselves up to future litigation, right? So an example would be like EXP. If they decided to not enter into the settlement, they would owe $367 million, which is just under 3 times the company's cash on hand. They'd be done for.
Yeah, it's an overwhelming loss for them for sure. So it goes in, implications for the MLS, for what the NAR is, but all these releases for what the settlement is, right? And what the specifics are for why and how this impacts them. But the practice changes. Like, what is this actually going to change? We are able to retain the right of consumers to continue to have a cooperative compensation as an option so long as they pursue it off the MLS through negotiation and consultation with real estate professionals. Let's back up. Just a couple of years ago, Zillow wouldn't put the buyer agent commission being offered on their site. Mm-hmm. The brokerages and the MLS rules required them to put that if they were going to be a board member and part of the MLS, which is what they are, they were required to put it on their websites, what the buyer agent cooperation commission was. What that did for the consumer is give them clarity as to how much commission is being offered the buying agent. If in Missouri you listed a house, you look it up on the internet, it would say on Zillow what the buyer agent commission is being offered.
For quite some time, too.
You're right. So that has already changed. What this is saying now is that it just has to be off the MLS. So now, instead of having complete transparency and everybody seeing what that buyer agent commission is, now no one can see it. No one can see it. Mm-hmm.
And
unless I specifically tell it,
right?
Unless I offer it up as a listing. If I'm the listing agent, I can't put it on the MLS.
Yeah.
It can't be there. I could put it on my own website. I could put it in an email. I could put it in a text message. I could say it verbally. I could put it on a flyer, but I can't put it on the MLS. Mm-hmm.